Let's move on and get into conversation with Peter McGuire, CEO at AustraliaTrading.com. Lots to talk about, Peter. Hi, morning. In terms of commodities, you have copper, oil. A lot has been in question ever since the announcement that came in late last evening for us. What is your sense on oil? Let's first start by talking about oil. Now, India has been given a penalty, or rather is going to be implemented because of the kind of trade of Russian oil that India has undertaken so far. What's your take on that, and any outlook on what the next strategy could be here?
Well, good morning. Thanks for having me on the show. I mean, let's look at the fabric of it. 35% as far as Russian crude. That is such a large number. You know, you've got Iraq, then Saudi, then UAE. So India is very dependent. 85, 88% of its oil is imported. We all understand that. This is a state of brinkmanship from President Trump's standpoint. He wants to see an end with Russia and Ukraine. So he's holding the other countries in some ways to ransom. He wants to see action from China and certainly from Prime Minister Modi to push Vladimir Putin to say we have had enough. And that seems to be the general consensus, what I'm noticing. So it's very much a work in progress, and there's a degree of art of the deal or creating deal tension. Whether he's successful or not, this is the way that President Trump operates. And I think it's going to be quite interesting over the next couple of days as far as price volatility and the overall theme is across the oil markets.
All right. Hi, Peter. Morning. Do you believe that going ahead, the kind of trade that we have with Russia, that needs to be renegotiated a bit? What's your overall sense on that front?
Well, I mean, that dependent upon that would come down to, Prime Minister Modi and talking to Russia, whether there are sweetheart deals, whether they're going to look at price negotiations, whether there are other countries that can take up that slack and look at the likes of UAE or Saudi to increase production, or Iraq. They're your four big ones. Or look at other markets like Kuwait or Angola. It all comes down to replacing someone who was such a large component of your import market of oil. And I don't think you do that in an afternoon. That takes a series of, I think, weeks to try and get new supply to the market. So there's the first part. The second part is this is all coming close to this 1st of August starting point. And this is where either President Trump I think he seems to be very aggressive at the moment with this Russia-Ukraine situation. And I feel as though the market is very reluctant calling President Trump's bluff as far as oil pricing.
Okay, we've got MK Surana as well, former CMD at Hindustan Petroleum, joining in. Who better than him to give the India dynamic angle to this? Mr. Surana, I know this is turning out to be more a geopolitical issue, more a diplomatic issue, but India has maintained its stance that we will buy cheap oil and we will prioritize the interest of our citizens first and buy oil from anyone that sells at the best possible price. We understand it's a niggling worry, and Trump wants the Russia-Ukraine, war to finally get over and for them to call ceasefire. But where do you think the situation is actually headed? Because right now it seems like that's the big bone of contention, and that's why this 25% tariff threat on us.
The statement is many things rolled into one, in fact. So far, we were talking only of the trade wars, tariffs, etc. But yesterday's statement also includes the buying oil imports from Russia, defense imports from Russia, non-monetary hindrances, etc. Subsequently, in one of the statements, he also mentioned that it is a part trade and part BRICS. So I think India will need to see also in a larger context, depending on not only the tariff part of it, but also the national oil security, national defense security, etc. And so far, as you rightly mentioned, India has made a tightrope balance, and they have to relook into the total narration which we are making and what the US is saying. Also, there was a subsequent statement regarding developing the Pakistani oil field yesterday from the US administration. So I think it is a larger context now, and we need to see in that. But I also believe that probably it is something to do to pressurize Russia to end the Ukraine war. the 10 days thing which they're saying, and parallelly blocking some of the revenue resources for Russia because of the oil which we are buying.
But I think, Mr. Surana, I mean, things are all up in the air right now. So a lot of questions really arising. I mean, one question is, will India stop buying oil from Russia just because US says so? Seems like it's unlikely right now. India has pretty much stood ground, but who knows, to try and protect this 25% tariff, which is very high, and it's going to be quite disastrous for a few sectors, and, thereby the rolling impact on GDP, etc. And the other question also is, if India wants to reduce or stop buying oil from Russia, what are the alternatives or cheaper sources does India have to procure oil?
No, as far as the sources for oil buying is concerned, India has many. In fact, even when we buy today, it is the economic analysis which we do and compared to all other options which are available to us. So I don't think that it is a direct economic impact if we are stopping oil buying from Russia, but definitely it is giving us an advantage in the sense that there are some discounts available. So as far as the availability of oil is concerned, there is no problem because till some time back we were not buying from Russia at all. It was only 2%. So it is basically the economic advantage we are getting. And I still believe that Indian government will continue to tread that line where we have got all the options open in the national interest.
All right, but Mr. Surana, since we have you with us, help us understand that what will it really mean for the Indian refiners as well, because so far they've really enjoyed and gained from the cheaper Russian oil. But going ahead, some areas of concerns or the times ahead, can that be a little concerning?
I think the total unlended price discount is hardly $2 to $3 as of today, unlike earlier. And if we are not buying that, then probably that price will go up to that extent. There may be some cost due to increased shipping costs because of sanctions on some of the shipping lines. And but at the same time, the margins had been good recently of late. And I think the refineries will continue to have a reasonable run. But because our market prices are not varying as per the international prices, so the companies who are not buying oil from others, that advantage doesn't accrue because we are refining and the selling and the same thing. The people who are buying from outside and selling, probably there will be slight disadvantage. But I don't think that there's a much impact as far as the OMCs are concerned, purely from the supply point of view. But if there are punitive tariffs, then we need to see that whether we buy or not buy. And we also need to see that whether we put all our eggs in one basket. And especially it is also tied to something imports from defense. So even if you don't buy oil, whether it is solving the problem, because it's not only the trade tariffs, it is also the question of a narration which is being built up, and we need to navigate through that.
Right, Mr. Surana, appreciate your thoughts this morning. Thanks so much for throwing some light on what the impact could be on the oil and gas space back home. On that note, we'll let you go. But Peter, coming back to you, while we were talking about commodities, we did highlight oil. But the other commodity in question, and that's seen a big drop last night in the US, is copper. After the announcement that Trump has imposed a 50% tariff on processed copper, what is your take on this? The kind of fall, about 20% fall we've seen in US copper prices just last evening.
Yes, and it was just amazing. I watched this COMEX trade and it was down 20.3%. I've never seen anything like that in my life. I mean, it's just electric. And these are all the impacts. We had a big run up over the last couple of weeks. Copper put on, I think, 17 or 18% in one session. And now all of that's been re-stripped out on COMEX. So this is the impact, 50% tariffs, semi-finished products, all starting on August 1, how that's going to roll forward. And are there going to be further falls across that copper complex? And is this going to be stretched across to other metals, to other industrial metals, or, of course, rare earths? So I think it's quite an incredible position at the moment.
Right, Peter, so great chatting with you. It always is. Thanks for your time today.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll take a very quick break.